When will you ever have the opportunity to do anything in front of 10 people, 15, 20 people? Has anybody ever paid a ticket to see you do a thing? I'm going to go out on a limb and say they haven't.
Here comes trouble!
Folks, it's your pal, Old Big Trouble Ben Bishop, BT-double-B, the one you come to see, the one made for TV, earthquaking, pillar shaking, meat popping, where is it? There it is, meat popping, jaw dropping, never jobbing, by the shirt. We have enough. So I wanted to come on here, the Meat Pop Express, the Rant Pop Express, calling out the Mark behavior, and I'd be amiss if I didn't jump on here and do the exact same, because I was sent a text this morning. Actually, I was sent a tweet or an X this morning, whatever you want to call it, by a friend of mine from a show in Maryland, Adrenaline Championship Wrestling. And in the ring was Matt Riddle wrestling Rich Swann. And had a banger of a finish. Rich Swann comes off for a cutter or a springboard cutter, whatever it may have been. Matt catches him in the RKO, sets up for the Bro Derek. 1, 2, 3, one hell of a finish. Glen Burnie, Maryland, the people in the American Legion went wild. Now, it was great. The people there had a great time. I know it because I've been there with Nat before. I've wrestled Nat in the exact same building. And I know that the people enjoyed themselves because every single time that ACW, Adrenaline Championship Wrestling, I'll plug them again. Every single time we go to that building in Glen Burnie, Maryland, the people have a great time. And that's the point of wrestling. People having a great time. People being entertained. That's the point. And it doesn't matter if you're in an arena with 16,000 people or you're in a VFW or an American Legion with 200, 300 people. It doesn't matter. The people are walking away entertained. People are walking away happy. And the people are buying a ticket to the next show. That's exactly what matters. But let me get back to what I was saying. So I was sent this text. And this individual was upset. And they had every right to be upset. So I was sent this, and this was what the tweet said. Matt Riddle's fall off. Well, let me put this guy over who said it for a second. At Tribal Megastar, Tribal Wrestling on Twitter. Another one of these engagement farmers that get their jollies and their rocks off by getting a bunch of likes and retweets from saying this controversial stuff. But let's give him a little bit of shine here. Matt Riddle's fall off needs to be studied. From wrestling in front of thousands of people every week and teaming with Randy Orton less than 2 years ago to 50 people in a random promotion, he really had it all and let it all go. Now, folks, if you want to see this tweet for yourself, remember, at Tribal Megastar, Tribal Wrestling. I'm going to send this video to Nick, and he might just put the guy's handle there. He might not. So listen, at Tribal Megastar, Tribal Wrestling is the one who had this asinine, out of touch, dumbass tweet. And go blow up his Twitter if you want to, because I'm about to later today. So let's start with this. You're going to watch the video. Watch the video and watch how much fun Matt Riddle is having in that ring. He's wrestling another one of the best wrestlers in the world, Rich Swann. And I didn't see the full match, saw the finish. Looks like they both had a great time. So first and foremost, you're going to make fun of somebody, Tribal Wrestling, whatever your name is, Tribal Megastar. You're going to go and shit on somebody for doing something that they enjoy and that they love. Just because it's not in front of 16,000 people. When will you ever have the opportunity to do anything in front of 10 people, 15, 20 people? Has anybody ever paid a ticket to see you do a thing? I'm going to go out on a limb and say they haven't. And I think that's the best bet in Vegas right now. And you're not the only one, because there's plenty of people. And this is one of the biggest pet peeves I have about the IWC. Because all you guys want to do is shit on people for trying to live a dream, or shit on people trying to make money doing something that they enjoy. How does that make any sense? You want to IWC, you want to think of yourself as inclusive and wrestling is for everybody. But then you see a guy, yes, he was in WWE, yes, he was wrestling in front of bigger crowds, and now he's working the Indies in front of 200, 300, 400, 500 people. and that's a bad thing? Have you been to an indie show? Have you seen what indie shows are like? It's a more intimate setting. You get the opportunity to meet some superstars you might have seen on TV in the past, or meet some future superstars that are working their way up. Do you think Matt Riddle's the only one that's ever done this? Let's go through it. When Eddie Guerrero was originally released by WWE back in 2002, he worked the Indies for a few years. CM Punk came up through the Indies. Daniel Bryan came up through the Indies. The current WWE Universal Champion, Cody Rhodes, left WWE. Guess where he went? The Indies. And guess where he is now? On top of goddamn wrestling. Rey Mysterio, when he took time off from WWE, went to the Indies. I can go on for days. Carmelo Hayes worked his way up through the Indies. We're talking about guys who are on the top of promotions. Drew McIntyre left WWE. Guess where he went? The Indies. The list can go on and on and on. And I can have 1,000 other examples of guys and gals who did this. And look at one of the top indie wrestlers right now who has made his name and has reinvented himself on the independent wrestling circuit. Matt Cardona. Making more money than he's ever made in WWE. On the indies. Because he can. And yes, he's not wrestling in front of the same size crowds as he used to wrestle in. But he's making more money. And is that a bad thing? It's not. It's not at all. And his wife, Chelsea Green, same thing, left WWE. He posted about this, so I feel it's okay to say it. Wasn't even getting a look in NXT. Couldn't get any ring time. Left WWE. Went to make a bigger name for herself on the indies. And look where she was last night. Wrestling for the NXT Championship, Women's Championship, that she couldn't get a sniff at in her original run in WWE. So that's that. That's my point, talking of shitting on the indies and shitting on the size of crowds. Now let's get to this money thing. Because you're saying, oh, he gave up all this money, millions of dollars, and now he's making nothing on the indies. You people, especially Tribal Megastar, you have no idea what some of these guys make on the independent circuit. I'll play devil's advocate just this once for you. Yes, if you didn't have a lot of TV time, it is very difficult to make a living on the independent circuit. Correct. There are guys and gals that do it, and I'm not saying this is everybody, but the vast majority of individuals have a hard time making money on the indies if you are not already an established name. That's the one time I'll play devil's advocate. Now I'm going back to giving you shit. Matt Riddle. I'm not going to tell you how much he makes. But if Matt Riddle wrestles 2 shows every weekend at his rate, he will make more money than he was making in the WWE. Because you know what else he can do? He can sell his own merch. He can do meet and greets. He can do outside appearances at other things, whatever it may be. Whether it be hosting parties, whether it be having other business ventures that he couldn't do in WWE. And that is basically working 2 or 3 days a week. No pressure. You're not working TV. You're going to a building. You're working. And I'll say this about Matt Riddle. I wrestled Matt Riddle. And I've seen Matt Riddle work a ton of other guys in these past few months. Matt Riddle works his goddamn ass off. For anybody who he's in the ring with, he gives 110% every time he walks through that curtain. And it doesn't matter who he's wrestling. It doesn't matter if it's a guy as established as Rich Swann or a guy who's trying to make it like myself. He gives it his all every single time. And he gives the fans their money's worth, paying their hard-earned money to come see him. Now, I lost my train of thought for a second where I was getting at, but I wanted to make sure that I put Matt over, or more over than he already is. He doesn't need me to be putting him over. But I just wanted to make sure that I mentioned that. Now back to my point about the money. He has the opportunity to make more money than he made in WWE on the Indies right now. So this whole point of he's throwing this all away. I saw somebody say, oh, he probably made less than $500 walking through the door. You're a dummy. You're an idiot. Stop commenting on things you have no idea about. It's because you listen to podcasts, and I love listening to Jim Cornette. I will admit it. He's entertaining. I agree with maybe 75% of the things he says about wrestling. I don't agree with everything, but I agree with most of it. And you know why? Because he's been there, and he knows what he's talking about, and that's hard to argue. Now, he talks a lot about outlaw mud shows. And now every single wrestling fan thinks that every single indie promotion is an outlaw mud show. And you think that's the cute new vernacular to use when you see an independent wrestling promotion pop up on the internet. That's not what he's talking about, you dumb, stupid marks. There's a difference between outlaw mud shows and independent professional wrestling. I've been on outlaw mud shows before, believe me. I have. So I know what they look like. But where Matt Riddle was wrestling, Adrenaline Championship Wrestling is not that. It's a professionally run independent wrestling company. Run by professionals and guys who were there before. So I'm not going to continue to give you the time of day, Tribal Megastar, Tribal Wrestling on Twitter, on X, because it's a waste of time. But I needed to come out and say this. And thank you all for all the support, the likes, the retweets, the comments, and supporting what I had to say on this topic, because it honestly pisses me off, and it's one of my biggest pet peeves in wrestling. And if you think this way, and you want to continue to comment, and you think it's some cute insult, some low-hanging fruit type of insult that you can say that might get under our skin, you're not a wrestling fan. You are just a piece of shit. With that said, subscribe to the Meat Pop Express. Buy the merch. And I'll see you guys next time. Keep it positive, keep it trucking, and keep the shades on, because the sun never sets on a cool guy.